All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second community forum for the Nahant Open Space and Recreation Plan. My name is Courtney Lewis. I'm a regional land use planner at the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, MAPC, and I am acting as project manager for this planning process. Tonight's presentation is being recorded and will be posted on the town's website so that those who were unable to join us this evening can watch later. So if you do not give consent to being recorded, you should turn off your video and remain muted. As I said, welcome. Thank you for making time to be here tonight. We're excited to share what we've been up to and what we've been working on for Nahant. Here's a look at tonight's agenda. We'll start off with introductions. I'll talk a little bit about the OSRP and what it is and why it's important, why the plan is important to do. We'll also talk about how the project has unfolded over the past year and some of the major phases of work. Then we'll discuss the draft 7-year action plan. And finally, we'll talk about next steps. So we're actually going to kick things off this evening by doing a quick poll. 2 quick poll questions, and that should be coming across your screen right now. And basically, we want to know if you attended or participated in the community forum last March, and if you participated or took the community survey. The OSRP community survey. Is the poll coming up?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you answer it though?
I can see the poll, but it doesn't seem to be working.
Okay, let me try this once again.
It said poll results.
Hi,
That's a question.
there it is.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's working now.
Okay. It looks like most people have answered. So I'm gonna stop and share the poll results. So it looks like it looks like most people did not attend the first forum, but it looks like we did have higher participation for the open space and the OSRP community survey. All right. Let me just save that. All right. Okay. So since last year, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council has been working to guide the town of Nahant through the process of updating its open space and recreation plan. MAPC is the regional planning agency of the Boston metropolitan area. We provide planning and technical assistance to 101 cities and towns within the region. We roughly cover the area within the route 495 belt. Within our region, we have 8 sub-regions, and Nahant is within the North Shore Task Force, which is this green area up here. So this OSRP update has been guided by the Open Space and Recreation Committee. The committee has provided input and guidance throughout the process, and they have acted as plan ambassadors and have assisted in community engagement and outreach for the survey, for the meetings, and getting the word out about the OSRP. Will members of the OSRP committee unmute yourselves and briefly introduce yourself?
Okay, I will start. I'm Paula Devereaux. I live on Intervale Road, and I am chair of this committee.
I am Nancy Cantelmo. I am the clerk of this committee, and I'm also the representative of this committee to the Community Preservation Committee in Nahant.
Ellen Antrim. I'm a member of the committee since its resurrection a few years ago, and I live on the Nahant Road and happy to work on the plan.
I'm a committee member.
My name is Trish Aldrich. I recently joined the committee after a 20-year gap. In other words, I was on the Open Space Committee 20 years ago and am happy to be back.
All right, thank you. And of course, residents and the community members have also provided input and feedback that has informed and helped shape the plan as well. So now we're going to take a look at why the plan is so important. The Commonwealth encourages each community in the state to have an open space and recreation plan. And this is a plan that's supposed to be updated every 7 years. The plan takes inventory of a community's parks and recreation, open space and recreation facilities. And it also encourages protection and stewardship of vital natural resources, which I've learned throughout this process is something that's extremely important to Nahant residents. Once completed and approved by the Division of Conservation Services, the town becomes eligible for grant funding through the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. These funding opportunities allow the town to acquire and improve land for conservation and recreation purposes. The town completed its last OSRP in 2008. These plans follow a standardized format. They have to address specific elements which are outlined in the state's Open Space and Recreation Planners Workbook. This is an outline of the required sections of the plan. And tonight we'll be focusing on section 9, which lays out specific actions that the town wants to take, that the town wants to try and accomplish in the next 7 years. Mapping the town's open space and recreation resources is another major component of the OSRP. There's a set of required maps that have to be developed for the plan that range from water resources, to geologic features, to land use, and even scenic places that the town considers as scenic or unique resources. You'll have an opportunity to take a closer look at some of these maps as you review the draft plan later on this evening. So now we'll look at some of the major phases of work and some of the feedback that we've heard throughout the process. As you can see from this open space map, the town has a good distribution of conservation and recreation areas. And these sites vary in ownership, level of protection, and use. Some properties are owned by the state, some are town-owned properties, some are open or are held by nonprofits or private entities. Some properties are permanently protected or protected in perpetuity, and some properties only have temporary or no protection. And this is each site is classified in section 5 of the plan, which is the inventory, the open space inventory. And then some sites are used for active recreation, like the Flash Road recreation area. And then some areas are simply passive recreation sites. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we met virtually this time last year for the first community forum to introduce the project and the planning process. We had a live presentation similar to this on Zoom, which was followed by a virtual open house. The purpose of the forum and the open house was to help gain a better understanding of community values, goals, and priorities. A recording of the meeting and a copy of the presentation was posted on the Town of Nahant website so that people who weren't able to join the live session were able to view content and provide feedback through the virtual open house. We asked open house respondents to rate the importance of a number of park and open space priorities. And based on the feedback, these were the top 5 priorities that emerged. Several respondents selected other, and I'll talk a bit about some of those write-in comments in a moment. But other priorities included preserving and protecting coastal areas and wetlands, maintaining the scenic quality and visual character of the town, protecting and preserving places of historic and cultural interest, like the Nahant Life-Saving Station, protecting open space for conservation, and protecting open space for conservation and passive recreation was also a top priority. Writing comments included preserving wildlife habitat, improving accessibility to parks and open spaces, and mitigating the effects of climate change. As an initial step to the plan, we met with the Open Space and Recreation Committee and toured and assessed the town's parks and open spaces. We visited sites at 2 different times of the year, during the summer and late winter or early spring of this year. We wanted to get a sense of what recreation opportunities were available in the town, and where what are some areas for possible improvement. In addition to the forum and the open house, we worked with the OSRP committee to develop a public survey that provided additional information and data from the community. The OSRP community survey was available online during March and April of 2021. Paper copies were also made available at Town Hall, the Council on Aging, and the Nahant Public Library. Overall, we had 420 responses and 372 respondents answered all questions. There were some questions that were optional, so people could skip them, particularly the demographic questions. So 372 participants answered all questions. In the survey, we asked questions to help understand what parks and open spaces people use, how frequently they visited specific sites, and what types of activities they enjoyed doing while at a site. We also wanted to know what types of facilities, amenities, and programming people enjoyed and what they wanted to see more of in the future. Based on the survey results, residents expressed a need for adult fitness and wellness programs, nature-based programs and environmental education, more boating and sailing activities, adult programs for those 55 and older, and youth sports programs. There were a few consistent recurring themes that emerged both from the virtual open house and the completed surveys. And those were improving overall maintenance and investing in existing parks and open spaces, improving accessibility to parks and open space, enhancing facilities, equipment, and programming at specific sites, improving cleanliness and safety in parks and open spaces, and also improving environmental stewardship and proactively responding to climate change. Those themes represent some key areas of focus for the 7-year action plan. The 2022 7-year action plan was developed by first reviewing the action plan from the 2008 OSRP. All completed actions were removed from the list, and any remaining action items were reviewed by the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee to determine whether they were still applicable. New action items were added based on town priorities, input from the community surveys, and feedback from the the virtual community forums. The town has undertaken a number of projects since the adoption of the 2008 plan. This is a summary of significant open space and recreation accomplishments, a majority of which include projects that were fully or partially funded through the Community Preservation Act. CPA allows municipalities to create a local community preservation fund, which collects and distributes resources for open space and recreation, but also historic preservation and affordable housing. And if you recall, Nancy mentioned also serving on the CPC for the town. So she has firsthand knowledge, and I'm sure has been intimately involved with some of these projects listed. This list, along with a brief description, a brief project description, is included in section 9 of the draft plan, if you'd like to review more information or on some of these projects. The updated action plan is arranged sequentially, beginning with the first goal and associated objectives and actions to facilitate the achievement of each goal. There are 6 overall goals, 13 objectives, and 40 action items. The following 6 goals were developed based on information from the 2008 plan, public input, and consideration by the OSRP committee. Goal 1, protect and improve Nahant's parks, open space, and natural resources. Goal 2, improve access and opportunity for open space and recreation for all. Goal 3, integrate cultural, recreational, and conservation activities. Goal 4, develop procedures for further evaluation of open space issues. Goal 5, protect the quality of Nahant's beaches, surrounding waters and skies. And goal 6, increase appreciation and stewardship of Nahant's parks, open spaces, and recreation facilities. The goals, community input, and geographic information from the updated open space inventory was used to develop the action plan, the action items in the 7-year action plan. And some of the key action items are shown in this draft action plan map, which you'll have an opportunity to view and provide comment on by downloading and reviewing the draft OSRP. The OSRP action plan is a combination of long and short-term strategies for the next 7 years. The matrix lists a range of action items. Some of the actions are already in planning, are already in the planning process, and others are ongoing but need additional support. For each identified action, there's also the responsible parties for taking the lead and carrying out the action is listed, which is this first column here. a time frame for when the proposed action should be taken is also listed. And where appropriate, there are potential funding sources listed for each action. So as I mentioned before, there are approximately 40 action items listed in section 9. I'm not going to go through them all, but I do want to go through the objectives that are listed under each goal. A link to the draft action plan was included on the flyer for this meeting and was also posted on the town website. So hopefully you had a chance to review it prior to the meeting. But if not, no worries, because you'll have an opportunity to review the full draft of the OSRP and also provide feedback following tonight's meeting. So objective 1.1 is maintain and improve open spaces and recreation facilities. Objective 2.2 is preserve Nahant's important land resources through land acquisition, conservation restrictions, zoning, and education. Objective 2.1 is improve the accessibility of both passive and active recreational sites for the elderly and persons with disabilities. Objective 2.2 is facilitate greater access to parks and open space through improved sidewalks, pedestrian crossings, and bicycle and streetscape improvements. Objective 2.3, improve public access to open space and the coastline. Objective 3.1, expand active recreation, nature-based and arts and culture programming. Objective 3.2, use public art elements to activate public spaces and beautify the public realm. Objective 4.1, identify and implement resiliency projects that address impacts from climate change and support Nahant's sustainability goals. Objective 5.1, continue to implement stormwater management measures to improve the quality of runoff to Nahant's surrounding waters. Objective 5.2, support the efforts of regional organizations and stakeholders who are working to resolve issues related to air traffic noise pollution generated from Logan International Airport. Objective 6.1, promote awareness of open space amenities through wayfinding and signage. Objective 6.2, work closely with local and regional partners to enhance natural resource activities town-wide. And objective 6.3, improve web-based information about all town parks, recreation, and conservation areas. So now I'm going to stop sharing, and I am going to open it up for questions, and I invite members of the Open Space Committee to also chime in for questions. If you have questions or comments, you can use the raise hand function or the chat as well. Okay. All right, Michelle, you're unmuted.
Hey, thank you. So good evening. Thanks, everyone. First, I want to congratulate our Open Space Committee for such a job well done with this whole effort that you've been working on for the last year plus that I've participated in and out as a resident. So such a great job. Well done. Great work products. I've been so pleased at the progress that's been made. So you all should really congratulate yourselves. One question I had as I continue to look at some of the information was just around what happens next in terms of any analysis that needs to be done or review of our bylaws. And if that's something that was considered as part of any of your plans. I didn't see anything specifically called out, but I'm just curious if any of the members on the committee had any thoughts on that.
I'll start off, and Paula, or whoever else would like to chime in. We can certainly make recommendations for, and I think one of the goals we mentioned, I think, gosh, give me 1 second. It was, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do a bunch of things that, okay. So objective 1.2, I think starts to get at that with, where it says preserve Nahant's important land resources through conservation restrictions, zoning, and education. So looking at reviewing the town's existing bylaws and looking to make more to take more protective measures as it pertains to parks and open space could be a recommendation or an action item. However, that type of work would have to be, is something that would be done outside of the scope of this work. But it certainly could be included as a recommendation. Like that, a review of the town's bylaw would be a whole project all in itself.
So I think my question wasn't more of a review of all of the bylaws. I think it's more of a review of those bylaws where we're going to do any more projects or work or anything that needs to be addressed. So we're not doing something later after the fact.
Yeah, so Michelle, I can answer that. I think so the goal of the committee right now is to just get the plan done, to be honest. But I have some other goals that I've mentioned to the committee, we've talked about. So this committee is kind of an ad hoc committee. It was established by a town meeting vote to really just do this. And I think that we really need a bylaw to define the committee's sort of work and scope and what the committee should be involved with going forward. Because there was, there's history with this committee. There was a committee that had been set up that everybody resigned. So, so I think that would be sort of one of the first things that I'd like to tackle after this. And then once the plan is done, I think it becomes much more of a roadmap for what the committee can do in the future to look at some of the, well, certainly look at the goals and the action items that we have and go from there so that we can be a little more proactive as opposed to reactive because we haven't had a plan since approved plan since 2008. So what has to happen is the plan, the draft will be available for comment. And we also have to send it into the state. And the state will comment on it and either send it back to us with recommendations or maybe they'll approve it. And then once that happens, then we do have something that we can use going forward to be a little more proactive rather than reactive.
That's great. Thanks, Paula. That's really helpful.
Any other questions or thoughts? Either clarifying questions or questions about the goals, or I'm not sure how many people had an opportunity to take a look at the action plan. Okay, we have a question in the chat. Was there any thought of including in the inventory of open space larger parcels in private hands that are owned by private individuals as distinct from for-profit or nonprofit, such as we did include private properties in the inventory, like the Nahant Country Club. I think the Cary Street Athletic Club, but we did not look at individual private people's private property, and it usually doesn't go over well listing someone's private property in a public document like that. So so no, we did not list private parcels in that way. Anyone else have questions? Or I hope I answered that question.
No, I think that's accurate.
You guys are quiet tonight. Okay, well, I won't force anyone. Before we transition, I do want to open up the floor to any committee members who may have just want to express thoughts, or use this as an opportunity to ask any questions from the public about anything dealing with the plan.
I do want to just reiterate something that Courtney did say, that the draft plan will be available. Courtney, you're going to transmit that to Kristen at Town Hall, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through that in the
Okay.
next step. But I just
yeah, why don't we might as well go through it now in case people have any questions about that, especially if they haven't had a chance to review the action items or anything.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen again. All right. So so in order to review and comment on the draft OSRP, I am going to, as Paula mentioned, this link to the information will be posted on the town website, but I'm also going to paste the link in the chat function, and I am all right. Can you still see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So once you go to the link that I posted in the chat, you'll be brought to this page, and it has two documents. One is the plan and the other is the comment matrix. All you have to do is click or select all here and then click download. You're able to download the documents for your to your computer and review. You'll be able to go through the draft plan, which is a PDF, and you'll also download the comment matrix. And the way that this is set up is there's very simple directions on the form, but basically you will fill out the information here with your name, your email address, and if you have a specific comment about a section or a page or a term or something that's mislabeled, or just additional information that you would like to offer for the plan, you would use the matrix here and enter the page number, the paragraph number, and your specific comment about the issue or the item. Once you're done with this, you will just email it to me. My email address is also on the form. I'll also post that in the chat function. And you and other neighbors are able to review and provide comment from now until May the 3rd. Like I said, you just follow the link, download the files, do it at your convenience, and then email it back to me with your thoughts. In terms of next steps, MAPC will work with the committee and will review and address comments and feedback gathered from the community. The plan will also be reviewed by town staff, and the open space committee, the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee, will seek letters of approval or letters of support from the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board. MAPC being the town's regional planning agency will also provide a letter of support. And then once we have all that information and we've completed the plan, we'll deliver it to DCS for review. I've done a few of these plans. They typically will submit the draft initially. They tend to provide some comments. So while the public is commenting, the state will also provide comments, so that way we can collect all of the comments at one time and make revisions, and then we resubmit the plan for final approval. The state usually, once you submit it, the draft, the state usually gives conditional approval to the plan. So they list the conditions or the comments that need to be addressed in the plan, and then but by gaining conditional approval, the town is then eligible for any grant funding opportunities that for any grant funding cycles that happen in the spring or summer. And then we just make sure that the state is satisfied and the town has a certified plan, OSRP. Are there any additional questions about that process?
Courtney, this is Nancy Cantelmo. Can you give us a sense of how long it takes for the state to give us conditional approval? Like, I know these are difficult times with COVID and all sorts of stuff. But I mean, is this, many months or what do you feel?
Okay. I would say that it varies. I think I think right now there's usually one or two people that review these plans for the entire state. So I've had I've submitted plans that have gotten conditional approval. It's been a relatively quick turnaround, so within a matter of like a week or two. But then there have also been, during the pandemic, there have been delays with other submittals. So those have taken a little longer than usual. Uh, Anywhere from a month or two, just to get everything worked out. It really just depends on staffing and availability with DCS.
Perhaps I missed it in earlier discussions, but I just want to get a reality check. I'm Mike Rawworth. I'm assuming that once all of the approval processes that you've described have taken place and the plan is fully approved and vetted and finalized and so forth, it doesn't really have any effective law. In other words, if the town later voted at town meeting to pave every bit of open space and make it into a parking lot, a la Joni Mitchell, nobody could use this plan to prevent them from doing that.
No, there is no legal.
Okay, so it basically is a capsulization of the best thoughts of the community at this time about the way to manage and maintain and expand upon and deal with open space and recreational areas, sort of a memory marker so that it's a reference point, right?
I would consider it as a framework and as a stated intention of the community's values about parks and open space. So it states the community's intention so that when financing comes available and when
grant financing
or private or
Yeah.
town financing, comes available, it states the intentions of the community. Like, this is what we said we wanted to invest in. This is direction we collectively agreed to move in as it relates to our parks and open spaces.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I would also say that any site that's already permanently protected, is protected. And
This doesn't diminish that, in other words.
Exactly.
Right.
Hi, this is Tony.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
My name's Tony Barletta. I'm town administrator. I just wanted to, also follow up on Michelle's comments and, thank you and congratulate the committee for, the great work that they've done. Obviously, a ton of hours and time spent here looking at the old plan, gaining feedback from the public, putting together this new plan. A ton of work. It's obvious by looking at the action plan how much time went into it. So congratulations, really great work. Thank you so much for all you guys have done. I did have one question kind of following up on Mike's question there is, obviously having the approved open space plan makes the town eligible for certain grant programs. Would those grant programs only fund items that are specifically listed in the plan?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's an easy answer. Thank you. What's the time frame that you are submitting this to the state?
Well, I will be submitting the draft to the state at the same time that the public is reviewing the plan. So, by the end of the week, I plan to have the draft sent off for the initial review to the state. They will, of course, like I said, provide comments, and it's okay that we don't have the letters of approval just yet. We have enough content gathered for them to review and provide comments on, and anything that's not there, they will definitely let us know. So yeah. And once we get comment back from the state, like I said, I'll take the public, the community comments as well as the state comments, make those revisions. The I'll work with the OSRP committee to address any of those issues, and then we'll get it ready for resubmission.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. I'm just looking a little bit closer in the action plan to make sure I don't make a recommendation that's already in there. But I was, as following up on Paula's comments and it does look like in goal number 3, it looks like there's some action items there related to, the ongoing process of the Open Space and Recreation Committee being involved in, future planning and development as we go through some of these objectives and new things come up or things get checked off the list, or, that there's a role for this committee in that, and that should be somewhere listed in the action plan.
Okay.
Or I would support that. It doesn't have to be included, but I would support that.
All right. Anyone else have additional thoughts?
Hello.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sheila Hambleton, and I'm a member of the planning board. And I think this was really a really good job done by the committee and all its members. There is a master plan. It happens to be pretty old, 1986. The planning board, I know, over the last 25 years has tried to update the master plan, but has not been very successful. Would you consider this portion for this committee to be included and should be part of the master plan? And would you request that the planning board add it as part of their master plan so that the master plan can actually be in a state of updating?
Yeah, so usually in a comprehensive when a town or when a municipality decides to do a comprehensive update of their plan, open space and recreation tends to be one of the required elements by the state as a chapter in the overall master plan. So yes, so what some communities do is if they have a fairly recent OSRP for that chapter, they really kind of fold it into the overall master plan and
Reissue it.
re-emphasize and kind of just drive home additional support for any recommendations or goals already outlined in the OSRP. But yeah, and usually when municipalities are wanting to do an update to their comprehensive plan, they do start, you know, as a starting point, they go and collect all of the town's most recent planning efforts. So the hazard mitigation plan, the open space and recreation plan, the the MVP, municipal vulnerability preparedness plan, and they take all that information and really feed it into the comprehensive plan update.
Okay,
So
great.
to answer your question, yes, the
Yeah.
OSR, the committee should definitely be involved if there's a master planning effort, a future master planning effort.
Would there be further or better or more grants available if the master plan was updated or on a kind of a continuous basis?
I can't really speak to that. Like I don't know that it would put the town ahead of I don't know that there's a necessary benefit from doing the master plan. Like I don't know that the town would qualify for additional grant funding just because they did an update to the master plan.
Okay, thank you.
So this is Nancy Cantelmo. I have a question sort of following up on Paula's thoughts about expanding our mission to beyond writing a plan. So if that happens, should we not present something to the town meeting this May to be able to begin work? Since we will have written the plan already, we won't have any authority to keep enhancing our work without the town granting us expanded role.
That's true. I think so I've seen communities do it a few different ways. So some communities don't have like a standing. I I think this is one of the things that Paula actually called me out on in our edits of the plan, because I kept saying the Open Space and Recreation Committee instead of the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee. Some communities have a standing OSR, Open Space and Recreation Committee, that meets monthly to discuss open space outside of the plan. You know, they get together, they plan all year long, and they execute. Their mission is to execute things defined in the Open Space and Recreation Plan. This group seems to be focused solely on creating the plan, and then it sounds like you guys kind of disband after that. But that would be a decision that's left to the community in terms of, you know, is this a standing committee that works throughout the year, and their mission is to execute and carry out the goals and objectives of the OSRP.
To the
So
extent
be-
you, sorry, go ahead.
Besides doing the work and moving forward with the work, I also think it would be better, we would be in better situation to be kind of working a little bit more on the next plan, because 7 years will come around quickly and we need to keep our work going, but we would kind of be working towards that at the same time.
That's also usually an action item that I've seen committees add into the action plan. So they state it as an intention and as an action item to sit funding aside, and also be prepared to update in the year, you know, 7 years from now. So that is sometimes listed as an action item, and it sounds like that's what you're suggesting. as well, if I'm understanding you right.
I would, yes, but the committee should discuss it.
So if you are concerned about having a mandate going forward after town meeting, I'm not sure if there's still time to get a warrant on the article to do that, but you can probably do it by amending the last article that always reauthorizes all the standing committees. So you might be able to just amend that on the floor and authorize this committee to keep doing its work. Does that make sense to you, Paula?
Yeah, no, yeah, I'd suggest that when when the last article that does talk about standing committees to make sure that we're on that list so that we stay engaged for now, and then that will give us time to work on a bylaw. And I need to do some research to understand what the town has on the books now. And then to work with the committee on going forward. But I would make sure that in this warrant that this committee continues. So Michael, thank you. Yeah, I think that's exactly how we do it.
And so you mean just a garden variety final article without any specific text relating to the work of this committee, or some amendment to, if you will, flesh it out?
No, I think I just wanted to continue for now, rather than try to, I don't know, we can, the committee should talk about it.
Sure, yep.
But I think I'd rather just have it continue for now, rather than try to come up with parameters in sort of how we were, how this committee came into existence after the last one. So I think I'd rather just have it continue and then work on a bylaw.
Right. I mean, as long as there's no sunset provision in the original authorization
And there
for this
isn't,
committee.
there isn't
Okay.
one. There isn't
Right.
one.
Right. Makes sense.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. If there are no other questions, we are right at 8 o'clock. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Please use the link that I provided in the chat. Feel free to review the draft plan and submit any comments you have. As I said, tonight's presentation, the recording, and the links to download the draft plan and the comment matrix will be posted to the town's open space and recreation plan OSRP committee page.
And I want to thank everybody for coming, listening, and participating. And thank you in advance for reviewing the draft. I think the comments will be really helpful.
All right. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you.